Let's do test on mic again.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
We're good. Kelly.
Testing 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Jordan.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2.
Alex.
Bossing and flossing, hoe tossing. You know, had to switch it up.
Can that be your hello when we introduce everyone?
No, sure you don't watch it.
Welcome back to That's Alt. I'm your host, McBallz.
Dude's Irish now. It's like them Shamrock Shakes. This is McAlt. It's a new show.
Today we're talking about reboots and whether we like them or not. I have Alex, BossNessMonster here with me.
Ni hao, suckers.
KelleyCK.
Hey there.
And Jordan Wade.
Konnichiwa.
I need blood to live.
Let's go start with ones we like. Reboots that we like. Jordan, why don't you get us rolling?
All right, so a reboot that I have enjoyed was Let Me In, which came out of 2010, I believe. Yeah, fall 2010. It was a remake of a Swedish film called Let the Right One In, and those who are not initiated with the story. It's about a young boy. The original was about a boy in Sweden who was picked on, and so he didn't have any friends. He lived alone with his mom in an apartment, and a girl moves in next door one day who happens to be a vampire. And so there's this sort of innocent relationship that blossoms between this young boy and this young girl who's a vampire. And I know people out there, the topic of vampires has been sullied because of Twilight, but I promise you, Let the Right One In was fantastic. And so it was only natural that a kind of a cult classic like that here in the U.S. would eventually be remade. So it was remade, and it was called Let Me In. It was directed by Matt Reeves, who directed Cloverfield, and actually had Chloe Grace Moretz, who has been in Kick-Ass and the new Carrie remake, and so that's 2 remakes for her. But yeah, she plays the vampire character, and her name is Abby in the American one. It was Ellie in the first one, the Swedish version. But I enjoyed it because even though it was the same basic story about a young boy befriending a girl and kind of this innocent, blossoming child love relationship that kind of grows, they had a lot of the same scenes, but they did some differences, and they were able to adapt it to an American audience. Like, they didn't just take the script verbatim from the Swedish version. They changed it up to the setting being it was still in the 1980s. But it was in America. It was in Colorado, so they added things like American arcades, like they go and hang out in an arcade and stuff like that, which were very popular in the 1980s. And they have they eat now and laters and stuff, which were a popular candy back then. So they did these little subtle things to make it more Americanized, but they didn't cheapen it by doing that. They kind of brought it closer to home. And unlike some American remakes where they kind of scale back on the violence, it actually seemed to be a more violent film than the Swedish version. It was bloodier. The deaths were a little more gruesome. There's also this crazy car flipping scene with the cameras inside the car, so you witness the crash in first person. So overall, it was really well done. It kind of flew under the radar because I think people just didn't really. I think again, if it's not Twilight, then women are not going to flock to it to see a vampire flick. If it's not Twilight, I think the other side is I'm so tired of vampires that I don't want to see it. So it wasn't that big of a hit, but it did a great job with taking the original story and adapting it for an American audience.
I think the one thing about the difference in the movies that kind of made me upset, because one of my favorite parts in the Swedish one was when this woman gets attacked by Ellie, and she gets bit, and she slowly becomes a vampire.
Yeah.
And she goes in the house, and you have these almost pretty bad CG cats that just start attacking this woman. And I thought that scene was funny as hell. But they didn't put it in the American version, so I was kind of mad about that.
No, instead we got kind of the one cheesy part is when Abby attacks a guy inside a tunnel in the American version. You see her hopping around like she's like Smeagol or something like that all over him. So that was the cheesy part we got instead of the cats. But the cats were better.
Yeah, definitely. The cats, that was
CG
classic.
Cats or animatronic?
No,
they were CG.
These were CG cats, and the uncanny valley was present. They didn't look right. They looked CG. So
it wasn't like Sci-Fi Channel, 8 o'clock movie CG, but it was 1985. Not 1995 action movie CG. Almost Godzilla-like.
I saw the Swedish one, and I actually liked it a lot. And I ended up seeing. I was kind of not really sure about the the reboot of it, but I liked that one a lot too, especially with what you were talking about, it being kind of similar but kind of different in the same way. And I kind of felt that's what they did with Dragon Tattoo as well, with the reboot of that movie, which I think was also a Swedish movie originally, wasn't it?
Yes, the Dragon Tattoo was originally a Swedish
I
film.
saw the original one just with all the hype of the books and everything, so I watched that on Netflix, and I liked it a lot. So when I heard that they were going to reboot that, I was kind of not too sure because I liked it a lot, but then once I heard David Fincher was directing it, I definitely was kind of more excited about it. So I think that was also a really good reboot in the fact that they kept the same characters and stuff, but there were subtle differences. I think, like the reboot of Let the Right One In, it was definitely more violent. I mean, just the rape scene alone, you kind of like, it's way more intense than in the Swedish film. So I think just the thing I liked the most about it was just the cinematography, which is David Fincher's trademark, was just evident all over the movie.
It's a beautiful film.
Yeah, and that's what really kind of hooked me for that. And Rooney Mara was amazing in that role as well. So I liked that as well.
Can I call you Elizabeth? I want you to help me catch a killer of women.
Whenever I think of the girl with the dragon tattoo, I always think of this question: when do you think it's too soon to do a reboot? Because the Swedish one had just come out.
Yeah.
Or even like Let the Right One In. It was only 2 years in between it and its American remake.
Like, I almost felt it was like, oh, no one wants to watch subtitles, so let's remake it for American audiences. Yeah. I definitely think that, because I knew a lot of people who wouldn't watch it, and I mean, it's kind of hard to watch sometimes. I mean, you get sick of reading it, but it's not that horrible. You can't read for like 2 hours.
I agree.
Right. Yeah, there's nothing. You're not going to miss any action during subtitles because nobody's giving deep dialogue while kicking ass.
Right.
So that's why I never had a problem with subtitles.
But as far as like answering the question, when is like too soon? I don't know if there's obviously like a certain set number, but I think when you have a foreign film being remade, I think that can be done quicker, like you said, because if you reach, obviously there's going to be a certain amount of the audience that wants to see it and will read the subtitles, and there'll be a larger audience that's just like, I'll just wait for the American remake. But that being said, you got to make sure there's a reason to remake it, and there's a way you can give it to the American audience and give them something that allows them to go see the original as well and get a worthwhile experience from the two of them.
And I guess that was the excuse for them, was the localization. It's kind of like they're remaking Old Boy, and that's a localization thing too. So do you have any good remakes in your mind?
I think one of my favorite ones is probably Dawn of the Dead. Because growing up, I never really watched Night of the Living Dead. I think I watched, Return of the Living Dead and like Day of the Dead more. So when I got older, I bought Dawn of the Dead on DVD, like I want to say 2003, and I watched it and I was like, these zombies are pretty slow, and it really wasn't. Like the zombies, they didn't like instill fear in you. They were like people painted different shades, like blue and white. I'm like these cannibalistic Smurfs, like like what the hell is this about? But then I remember a bunch of me and my friends, we went to go see the remake, and I was like, let's see. And that's when, because 28 Days Later came out probably like the year before, same year.
It came out in 2002, and Dawn of the Dead came out in 2004. So it was within a couple of years of each other.
So that's when you ushered in, the full sprinting zombie. And so when they incorporate those into the movie, the zombies were gruesome and bloody, and they're running full speed. So if you watch the original one, they ride around, you have a biker gang coming to the mall, playing around with the zombies. Like, nah, these people were trying to survive, so it was a lot scarier than this one. So I like this one a little bit better.
They were putting like cream pies and
it's just
it was a joke.
Like you had that one legless parkour zombie in the new one that was like grabbing on the ledges and drop down on dude. I was like, all right, I don't like this, but you get the little zombie baby, throwing it in there.
I liked the scene where they're sniping the lookalikes.
The celebrities, see, like that was. I liked a little bit of humor too, because it wasn't just overly just violent and gory. You had the humor in there, like from the first one had a little bit of humor. Well, the original had humor, so I thought that was a better translation from old to a remake.
I like them both.
Mega City 1. Only one thing fighting for order in the chaos. Judges.
And then Dredd came out recently. I like the new Dredd. The remake did the comic more justice, so it was darker and grittier. Whereas the Sylvester Stallone one was really goofy. It was more in the vein of like an Arnold action movie. Yeah. And they were trying to be kind of funny with it.
I am the law!
Well, that came out like in the early to mid '90s, right?
Yeah.
So it seemed like action films were a little cheesier back then.
Yeah, they went for that kind of vibe back then.
Yeah.
It didn't match the source material, but now the new Dredd movie, that's closer to it. And I don't know, I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
Well, I think about it too because if you look at like superhero movies just from like the mid '90s time, they were real campy and they were really trying to cater more to kids, you know, because
it's all
that's
about
when
the toys.
exactly. You had a bigger toy market, and so with now they saw, with Batman Begins, you had a darker superhero and a darker story, and now a lot of the superhero movies are trying to go for a more darker, adult-oriented fan base, which is kind of making them a little bit better,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
It's easier to take it more serious and like get into it.
Nobody likes hot pink Two-Face.
Right, which was
with the tiger stripe suits and all.
Yeah, I thought he was supposed to be acid burned with like a scarred up suit.
Acid burn. We had acid wash jeans.
Yeah.
Lots of remakes coming up. RoboCop remake. I'm a huge fan of the original. I don't think they can defeat it. Like, I don't think they can improve on it at all.
So the Commander Shepard suit didn't do anything for you?
Yeah, I saw some more recent photos. It doesn't look as Commander Shepardish. It looks like they kind of lit it up a little.
Right, and I think they're actually going to add some stuff in CG probably afterwards. But so I'm assuming it's probably going to be a darker tone, since that's what we're kind of going for in this generation of reboots. I mean, especially after Batman Begins, it seems like we're going darker.
I'm also hoping that RoboCop's not like, they don't go like the iRobot route where he's like some cyber ninja shit, like jumping on walls and
wall scaling, flipping, contort themselves, crawling on some spider type crap.
Right, because I have not seen, and this is bad for me, I've not seen any of the original RoboCop films. I've seen bits and pieces, but I guess
you have a RoboCop night with this guy.
Well, I know, I really should, but it seems like, I guess part of what was interesting about the character was that he was reconstructed with technology, but the technology didn't necessarily make him totally better. Like, the suit is somewhat constricting. He's more of a tank, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is. So
slow moving. He's strong, but he's like a tank. But you gotta watch that movie.
No, I know. I feel.
I don't see how you were born before 1987 and having watched RoboCop, sir. Like,
so is it more understandable that I haven't seen any of them?
A little bit. I mean, it's a little bit. That was RoboCop was like every kid's like dream at that time. Like, ooh,
I have like
cops and robots.
A few,
they were
parts, but
I was raised by a father who loved 80s comedies, so I was watching like Caddyshack and Weekend at Bernie's and stuff like that. So that's what I was raised on. And Major League.
That was the funny thing about growing up in the 80s, 90s was that RoboCop was the goriest movie you can ever see. Like one of the goriest movies. It's like over the top gore, crazy. But they're marketing kids,
he even had a
toys
cartoon
for children.
He even had a cartoon, and I was like, I think back, I'm like, oh yeah, you had a Rambo cartoon. It was like, we were like marketing
Aliens.
straight violence and just death to kids. I was like, wow.
Aliens?
G.I. Joe, even.
Yeah.
That's nightmarish to children.
I saw online there was a Aliens coloring book that had like dead people in it. Like this was from the 80s.
Connect the dots with a chest.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it.
Draw the chest.
I mean, I have hopes for the RoboCop remake, but I really don't expect it to surpass the original. And then you got Red Dawn coming out in the next few months here, which looks like a joke.
I mean, the original was kind of a joke.
Yeah. It had some 80s charm to it.
I mean, that was when Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey first met. That spawned Dirty Dancing. So.
And then we had the Clash of the Titans Trainwreck remake.
Oh my goodness! Like, I don't see how you can have a movie with a bigger budget and all these special effects and have it do worse than the guy who just had stop motion action figures.
Yeah. Me and my friends sat in the back of the theater like doing riff tracks ourselves in the movie theater. It was so bad.
Because I grew up watching Clash of the Titans. My dad, he was real big into Greek mythology, so I grew up liking Greek mythology as well. So I was like, okay, I'm seeing all these stories, and I was excited that they were doing a remake. I said, I want to see how they're going to do the Kraken and how they're going to, because the story itself was good. Even as a kid, I liked the story for the original one. But then the second, the remake came out, and it was just a big letdown.
Yeah.
You didn't the owl. You didn't get like a quick cameo of the owl. I'm like, you can't get like a new version of the owl, like some kind of different type of aid or something like that.
But like as far as like other reboots that have come along, there's like what I enjoyed last year was X-Men First Class, because I initially thought it was a reboot of the franchise. They went this different direction, went this 1960s era X-Men. It was kind of closer to the source material of the comics. And so I was really pumped up about seeing where the series could go, but then we find out that Fox wants to kind of combine the old universe with the new universe, and it kind of totally shreds apart the dreams of this. And I don't think there's anything wrong with rebooting a franchise if you're going to do something different and something that's, you have a passion to make, and I felt like that's what, Matthew Vaughn was doing with X-Men First Class, and I was interested to see where he could go with a new X-Men brand. But now that they're kind of combining it, it kind of destroys this hope of something different. So.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Right.
It doesn't really make sense to make this different movie and then combine it with the movies that were kind of awful. So
I mean, I can understand if like X-Men First Class wasn't successful, then be like, okay, well, let's try to combine the universes. But X-Men First Class was fairly successful, so you'd think, well, let's go on with this and see where we can go with this. And if we want to combine these down the line, then we can. But it seems like it's too soon to jump in and just say, no, let's combine it right now. Let's just nip it in the bud and just go ahead and say, it's all one universe, people. Just understand that.
There's too many inconsistencies for me to really, I don't know.
Right.
To keep them connected.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're gonna steal cars, don't dress like a car thief. You found my weakness. It's small knives. Oh, it's so simple.
Another comic movie, Spider-Man, the remake.
How'd you feel about that one?
I like it better than the Sam Raimi ones, to be honest. I mean, I have some issues with it.
Yeah.
But I had issues with the Sam Raimi ones as well. They both have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but it's an alternate. Well, it's a different comic.
It's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yes.
And so.
Yeah.
There's slight differences. It has his parents involved with the story.
Gwen, they're going more toward the source material, having Gwen Stacy be the love interest from
Yeah,
off the bat, as
that's what I
opposed to just
noticed.
jumping in with Mary Jane.
And he doesn't produce the web from his body. He has to actually make
He
the
makes
capsules.
it.
Yeah, just like the comic. Because from what I've heard, because I myself I didn't see the movie, but from what things I've seen, I've read, it's the closest one to the actual comic. Because I remember I used to watch the Spider-Man cartoon on Fox a lot, and even in the cartoon they touched on his parents being agents and stuff like that and having a secret past. So I thought that was pretty cool, and people were upset. Well, oh man, he doesn't have the organic webbing, but I'm like, he never had that in the comic.
Right.
He had to make that himself, and so if he ran out, he had to use his brain and his abilities that he did have to get out of situations. So instead of just constantly having to use nothing but web and pretty much cheat. So I said I didn't have a problem with that. So.
Yeah.
I like that better too because he was forced to improvise more in his
Yeah,
battles.
it makes more sense. I liked the fact that the villain was the lizard in this one. I mean, I haven't seen it, but from what I saw, it looked cool. I don't know if that
They really
played off
blueballed
the
us
same
with
way.
the lizard and the Sam Raimi version.
He was in all three damn movies.
Yeah,
Like,
building him up.
I'm like, okay, he's gonna be in the next one.
Right.
I'm like, who's this lightsaber Power Ranger air gliding dude in the third one? And like, Sam, man, like nobody don't care about Sam.
Yeah, the third one they did way too much. Sandman didn't need to be in there. It should have been a movie just about Venom, but they.
I felt with that one, they should have. What that movie should have ended was the church tower when he turns into Venom.
Right.
It should have went straight to black, and that should have been a whole separate movie.
Right. Set up for the fourth film. I think Venom needs to be fleshed out a little bit.
Definitely.
But you had him as a.
Well, they cast Topher Grace to begin with. That was their first mistake.
But it was just like he wasn't intimidating. It was just
because I know from the show was he in prison or he was evil. He was like a really bad guy.
He was Peter's rival.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking of Carnage.
What's his name again? I forgot his name.
Eddie Brock. Yeah.
Sam Raimi had no passion for Venom. He was a classic Spider-Man fan.
Right.
And Venom was a newer villain. He didn't want to. I guess he didn't want to give him any due respect.
Yeah.
See, that's what's called a hater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you, I enjoy both franchises. I mean, the limited, subject matter we've had for the new franchise, I've enjoyed it. But I did like some of the things Sam Raimi did. But I do appreciate they're kind of going closer to source material with the newer films. It kind of grounds it more into reality, as close to reality as you can with a guy who's mutated. But I mean, I enjoyed what Andrew Garfield did with the character, and I'm interested to see where they go with the franchise. The lizard I was a little worried about because I didn't know if there'd be enough build up, but they seem to make it work for this film. So yeah,
it's decent.
Yeah,
I'm not pro or against the remakes, but it just depends on how much respect is given to the source material and whether if it was due a remake at the time.
Well, I feel that with certain remakes, certain movies were made during certain times in history to where that movie and everything about it was relevant to that time. And if you try to translate that to a newer time, it's not gonna translate well. It's not gonna look good on film, and the story is gonna be corny. That's like if they tried to remake the what's that old movie, The Wizard,
right?
From the old Nintendo and the kids. Like you could try to remake that now, but
I feel like
it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I feel like that's why they changed the ending of the Watchmen movie when they adapted that into film. It was kind of the ending didn't really work for modern times, so they felt we should probably change it. So That's
Yeah, like 'cause some stuff like the 80s was full of just over the top stuff. Like even if you looked at comic book characters, they were super muscle bound and had rocket launch. Everybody was heavily armed, and that stuff was good for that time. But as time progressed, things got more streamlined and simpler. So you can't do that with you can't always just remake every movie just because it was hot back in the 80s or the 90s or 2 years ago.
That's why Red Dawn's not going to make any sense. That's my problem with it. The plot does not work for nowadays.
Because we had America had a fear of Russians back in those days, so that was just. I don't know. I don't know if we fear China that much.
Yeah, isn't it South Korea that invades
they changed to North Korea. Originally it was China, but they changed to North Korea because the Chinese market is a very important market for film. So now it's North Korea.
Don't want to mess up your money.
Court's adjourned.
Good stuff, guys. We'll go ahead and close this one out. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about the remakes and the whole situation, whether you think they're good, bad, or when it's acceptable to do a remake. And feel free to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/ultness. Also check out our website, ultness.com. And we'll catch you guys next time. Take care.
Why did you judge me?
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the revolution.
You betrayed the law.